Just a short one. Fuel tank finally mocked up, should we say, completely. Haven't welded the end tanks on yet, but just before I did that, I just wanted to confirm everything else was okay before I fill it with foam and then basically weld it up. So we do actually have enough room to, if we have a sender problem, we can change the sender out, which is good. I think we've got just about enough room that we could theoretically just about move and pull the fuel tank, the fuel pumps out, which I hadn't quite thought was possible, but I think it actually will be, so which is good. So at least I can remove the high pressure pumps if we have trouble with them. Obviously we have the pass-throughs. This is the pass-through for the gear change cables here, to make sure that the gear change isn't, we don't have any tight turns on the gear change cable, make the gear change as fluid as possible. We also have another pass-through on the tank here, which comes at a reasonable angle, and ends up being down the bottom of the, underneath the motor, and that'll be for the handbrake cables. So we'll have to remove basically 4 bone cables if we need to drop the fuel tank down at any point. So you have to disconnect the handbrake, pull it through, and disconnect the gear change and pull it through. Yeah, so quite happy everything fits okay. Super happy the filling point, excuse me, filling point is just about doable. So our pipe over here, our charge pipe, that's going to come in and basically curl around and get into there. And there was just enough room to put a 2.5 inch pipe basically here, so it's pretty close. If I put the tank in its actual position, which is probably closer to there, there you go, so we're good there. And our 2 fittings here for fuel pressure to the engine and fuel pressure return, they do have enough room then to have a 90-degree fitting and go down. So yeah, happy. Happy. It's been a frustrating day, but glad to get at least get a mock-up of sitting in the tank, sitting in the car and having enough room. There will be basically like a 1/2 inch foam we'll put to the chassis, so when we put the fuel tank into it, there'll be foam on each one of these bars, the foam on the back bars, and we'll have a bunch of foam, maybe even a rubber mat of some sort underneath the fuel tank when we put the steel plate on. Basically the tank will only be held in by basically screwing it up, and I'll do that before I put the aluminium paneling on and make sure we've got enough compression on all the pieces of foam so the tank won't rattle. So we'll add rubber in places if we need to, just to make sure. But yeah, fuel cell, a lot happy with this one, with the bonded center rib for anti-slosh between left and right. No distortion on there, so a lot happier than the last one. So but yes, now you can kind of see what all the masses are. Literally fuel, intercoolers, engine, turbos, everything's between the wheels of the car and pretty close to central. So lower polar moment of inertia, or to you and me, basically as you turn the steering into a corner, you've got an easier point to rotate around and not something that's going to easily come into understeer, oversteer. Just helps. Bad description, but there you go. Okay, so trying to arrange to go to a show in June. So really the car has to be ready for June. Whether it's in its final state of tune with the engine or not, probably not. It more than likely won't have the heave setup on the suspension. I've literally I've pulled a few things away from doing final setup. So one of them, that's literally a bolt-on set to the rockers. So involves new rockers and various bits and pieces, but it bolts to the rockers okay. So I don't have to muck with the chassis. Same with the rear. Pretty much there's only one extra hole to, right, so there's 3 holes to drill in this back bar, and I might pre-drill those before I have the bar powder coated anyway. So I can alternately push them back. Actually, I may have to push them out. Yes, I'm going to have to move them before I do that. Okay, that's one thing I've got to do, but still on target to strip the car down the end of this month and get it off the powder coat. Okay, speak to you all soon.